Have you ever wondered what would happen if the animals we love returned to their true nature? The truth hidden behind the walls of the zoo often remains out of the public eye. One ordinary day, a familiar face, and a sudden accident that shocked everyone. This is the story of the moment when the relationship between man and animal crossed the limit. The first is the child's fatal curiosity. The cold morning of December 5th, 2023 began like an armed school day in Portland, Oregon. 6-year-old Loyalty Charles Scott, who was affectionately called Mookie at home, was ready to go to school. She was brought up by her grandmother, Rena Scott, whose whole world revolved around his grandchildren. Loyalty was a child whose smile touched everyone's heart. At school, he always helped others. He didn't leave anyone alone, and he didn't leave anyone alone. That morning, as usual, Rena dropped her off at her friend Coco Miller's house, who would drive her to school. The family had full faith in him, but no one knew how big the danger lurked in the garage of his house. 2 large and aggressive dogs were kept there. They were considered to be far away from children. There was only one mistake that day. A door opened and everything changed. In a few minutes, an innocent life was over. When help arrived, it was too late. The incident has caused a stir in the entire area. The school went dry and a grandmother's world was ruined forever. Next is the Fair Tunnel escape in Sweden. On the morning of March 6, 2013, an eerie calm enveloped the Cat Haven Sanctuary in the hills of California. The cool breeze was accompanied by sunshine dripping from the trees on the fences spread over 100 acres, where large wild animals used to roam comfortably. Diana was moving on the roads with cleaning and food items in her small car like every day. On that day, the owner of the sanctuary had gone out and only 2 employees were left behind. Both Diana and Meg were given the responsibility of different parts so that the work could be completed quickly. In the afternoon, Diana reached the enclosure of a lion named Cuscus. He was a 4-year-old lion who had been reared here since the age of 8 weeks. According to the rule of safety, Diana locked her in a small part, but there was a small mistake. The door had not been locked. Diana, who was engaged in cleaning, did not realize this. Just then, the lion pushed the door and came out. In a few moments, he reached Diana and dropped her to the ground in one blow. Man could not survive in front of such a heavy and powerful lion. When Meg did not get an answer on the radio, she went there searching. The view from the front was breathtaking. Help was called, but the situation had deteriorated. Finally, the lion had to be killed for safety. This incident became a painful reminder of a small negligence and its huge cost. Next is caracal home attack. On the morning of September 14, 2016, everything seemed quiet on a deserted road amid the dense forests of North Carolina. Olivia Carter lived alone in the area, a 37-year-old independent woman whose life seemed simple on the outside. The remote job had given her comfort and freedom, and in this freedom, she made a decision that she considered love. For the past 2 years, she had been living in her house with a wild caracal named Kai. Olivia believed that their relationship is special in that trust is bigger than wild instincts. Kai roamed freely in the house. He used to sleep near her bed and was treated like a pet. But the nature of wild animals does not change with time. That morning, Olivia was cooking in the kitchen and talking to her sister on the phone. All of a sudden, everything changed. One moment of silence and the next moment of attack. The phone went down, voices broke, and help arrived too late when the door was broken. Then the truth came out. Love and trust cannot change the laws of nature. The peace of that house was gone forever. Next is Tiger Gate failure in England. On a clear and calm spring morning of May 2017, work began as usual at Hatton Zoo, located in the Huntingdonshire town of England. 33-year-old Rosa King was fully engaged in her duties. Rosa, who had a deep love for animals since childhood, had served in the same zoo for 13 years and played an important role in improving the arrangement of safe enclosures for large carnivores. That day, too, she reached the tiger enclosure to clean it. According to the rule, a tiger had to be locked in a separate part. but a metal gate could not be closed properly, and this small mistake did not go unnoticed. In the same enclosure, an inner tiger named Sisip, weighing about 200 kilograms, was present. Rosa remained engaged in cleaning and did not feel the danger coming from behind. As soon as he saw the open door, he tried to get out. The tiger suddenly jumped up and clutched his neck in its jaws. Within moments, everything was over. After this incident, there was panic in the entire country. This accident clearly shows that even a little carelessness while working with wild animals can prove to be fatal. Next is tiger grooming session. On the evening of November 18, 2014, silence reigned around Camp Farmhouse in Knox County, Ohio. The house, spread over 6 acres, was inhabited by 42-year-old Valerie Camp, who considered herself an expert on large wild animals. Loneliness, a broken marriage, and distance from her children drove her to the point that she wanted to prove that even the most dangerous predators can become loving companions. For the past 2 years, she had been living in her house with a wild Bengal tiger named Shiva. Like a large animal, that same night she decided to show Shiva's grooming in front of her online audience and 2 guests. At first, everything was normal. Shiva lay still and Valerie smiled and spoke to the camera. But after a few seconds, he turned around. The situation changed. In a moment, Shiva's nature changed and he became a hunter. A scream echoed through the room. People were terrified. A call was made for help, but time was short. By the time the police arrived, it was too late. That night, it became clear that love and trust can never change the rules of the jungle. Next is Jaguar door oversight in Denver. A typical cold morning of February 24, 2007, the day was starting at the Denver Zoo. The zoo was not yet open to the general public amid the cold wind, and the staff were engaged in preparing the enclosures of the animals. It was also a typical day for 27-year-old herder Ashley Plow, as she had been working here since 2005 and had good experience working with large wild animals. After completing her studies in biology, she was taking care of animals for many years. That morning, she was assigned to the animal section of the cat species. There lived a 6-year-old boy named George. It weighs around 64 kilograms. Although he grew up in captivity, his predatory nature was not lacking. During this time, there was a small negligence in the security process, and the door of Ashley's working corridor did not close properly. George, sensing the opportunity, quietly pushed the door and came out. On hearing the sound of the metal, Ashley was shocked to see the muddy and wild hunter in front. Before she could call for help, Jaguar pounced and grabbed him by the neck. Within moments, everything was over. The employees tried to save lives, but the situation had become uncontrollable, and the Jaguar had to be killed in the end. The investigation revealed that the accident was caused by human error and not machines. Next is chimpanzee enclosure cleaning. On the cold morning of April 16, 2000, the small neighborhood of Łódź was quiet. Julia Morozova, a 34-year-old former teacher, and her husband, Pavel, 35, lived in their home where for the last 12 years their life was living with a unique cohabitation with a chimpanzee, Stefan. Stefan was gifted to her in childhood, and gradually he became part of the household. Caught by hand, children were dressed as children and included in everyday life. Julia seemed to understand. She was confident of her safety, but the chimpanzee's power and predatory instincts could spiral out of control at any moment. That Sunday afternoon, when Julia was cleaning his cage, Stefan suddenly came on the attack. A few seconds later, everything changed. Paul tried to help, but the sickening force and violent speed ruined everything. The police and animal experts arrived, but it was too late. Julia's body was found in a pool of blood. Stefan was sedated and taken to a safe place, but Julia's life had ended forever. Next is tiger wall climb in China. On the cold but wet morning of January 22, 2017, Ningbo Wildlife Park in the Yaju district of Ningbo City in China was bustling as usual. Families came to visit with their children, and the animals were imprisoned within the zoo's walls in their limited wrens. On that day, a man named Zhang arrived with his family and friend Li's family, but the ticket cost them more. Therefore, they both planned to go inside without a ticket. Zhang's wife and children walked towards the main gate, while Zhang and Li crossed the high wall with the help of a tree standing near the wall. After reaching inside, they saw another wall with warning boards on them, but they ignored them due to greed and thrill. Li got scared at the last moment and came back, but Zhang jumped down. He fell straight into the tiger's enclosure. The 3 tigers immediately swung into action. A tiger pounced on him and grabbed his head. Screams rang out. The audience was stunned with fear. The tiger kept chasing him for a long time. The police and staff could do nothing, and finally the tiger had to be killed. Zhang was taken to the hospital, but his life could not be saved. One wrong decision ruined a family, and an animal also lost its life. Next is lion feeding demonstration. The summer of March 6, 2018 was a barbecue atmosphere at Francis Ditto's house in Pretoria. 42-year-old Francis, who had been working with wild animals during safaris in Kruger National Park since childhood. Lions with their own hands were excited in front of the guests to show Napoleon. About 15 people showed up. Between drinks and conversation, Francis was busy showing his valor and control over the animals. But this pride was to prove to be his last mistake. As soon as he stepped into the area of the lion with his hand, Napoleon attacked with explosive speed. He hit Francis on the chest and shoulders with both the claws. Then he placed his hand on her forehead. The 4-inch teeth left deep wounds in the flesh and bone. Blood and gore flowed. The lion tore the flesh with characteristic head shaking and dragged Francis's body to the corner. The guests were crying, but help arrived too late. When the police and veterinarians arrived, Napoleon was lying unconscious and Francis's life was gone forever. Next is polar bear mordere in Brooklyn. A bright summer afternoon filled the atmosphere at the local zoo with the laughter of children and the sounds of animals. At the same time, Natasha Lee, 22 years old, was engaged in her work. She always found comfort among the animals because it had been her dream to visit the zoo since childhood. At the same zoo, she grew up with a chimpanzee named Walter, who was 10 years old and was raised by Natasha after her mother died when she was a child. Over time, a deep trust developed between the two, and Walter became beloved for his calm and playful mannerisms. But one fine day, it happened. When Walter somehow got out of his enclosure, there was panic in the house, and people started running away. When Natasha came running after hearing the noise, Walter was in front of her, but in his eyes there was now violence along with identity. The next moment, he attacked Natasha. She became helpless in front of his strength and was seriously injured. The staff somehow managed the situation and Walter was brought under control. Natasha's life was saved, but her mind was filled with fear forever. The relationship between man and animal has become a bitter lesson for all. Next is python photo opportunity. The hot and heavy afternoon of July 13, 2013 seemed to be the dullest in West Monroe, Louisiana. The building of Carl Weissner's house was full of dangerous and calm animals inside, hidden behind the gate. 48-year-old Carl, who was fond of Saraspops since childhood, he wanted to impress the guests with his 45-kilogram Burmese python wedding. That day, his old friend Dennis Felder came. As Carl wrapped the wedding around Dennis's shoulders, there was a slight playfulness at first, but soon his body began to deteriorate. Her heavy body wrapped around Denise's chest and neck. Dennis kept trying to move his hands, but lost the balance of his legs. Gal kept running and trying to pull the snake, but the muscles of the wedding were so strong that she was not taking the name of leaving him. Dennis fell to the floor, and soon his body calmed down. He called 911, but it was too late for help. Dennis was pronounced dead at the scene. Mary was taken to the animal center and later removed due to her aggression.